Cydney.
And I'm Madi.
And we're going to be doing Kid Food Nation with you guys for the next 8 weeks.
We are so excited.
See you in the kitchen! Hello and welcome to week 2 of Kid Food Nation. So, this week we are going to do a bit of a recap of what we learned last week. So last week we talked about food hygiene, chopping, making sure we're clean, making sure our hair's up, just kind of how to work the oven, stuff like that, just our basic cooking skills. So this week we're going to do a bit different stuff. We're going to focus more on some chef skills. So the main core skills that we're going to be looking at are stirring and mixing, cutting, grating, peeling, and whisking or beating. So today you're going to get a chance to go over all of those kinds of things with our pizza that we're going to be making. And you're going to follow a recipe, so we're going to learn how to do that again, our measuring tips and everything like that, and we're going to go over some food safety tips. For part of our food safety, we're going to go through the 4 food safety principles. So the first thing is to clean. So it's important to get rid of the bacteria that collects on different surfaces before starting to cook. So that's why we always need to be really thorough, wash our hands really good. We need to make sure that we're washing our fruits and vegetables so they're all clean when we're cooking with those. We need to make sure that our surfaces are clean so that we're not collecting other germs so that our food is safe to eat, such as your countertops, your cutting boards, stuff like that. Once you wash your dishes, it's important to put those right away after they dry so that it doesn't get contaminated and make other things gross. Another thing that you need to do, the second thing, is to separate. So that could mean always keeping your raw meat, like chicken or fish or whatever meat you use, and eggs separate from other food because they have bacteria and parasites that can get onto your other food. And if you're not careful about storing those and keeping them separated, then that could get you sick, and we don't want that. So we just need to make sure that when we're handling meat and that kinds of things, that we're washing our hands too, to avoid any kind of anything poisonous to you. So another thing that we want to, the other food safety principle is cook. So we need to make sure that we're always cooking meat and stuff like that with enough heat to kill the bacteria. So medium to high temperatures for long enough, so you always need to make sure that you're following your recipe, or else it may not be safe to eat and it may get you sick. So it says always double check that your food is fully cooked before eating it by using a meat thermometer. So if you don't have one of those, that might be a good thing to invest in. And the fourth one is to chill. So warm temperatures can cause bacteria to grow in certain foods, which can lead to spoiling. So as a rule, don't have ingredients sitting out for more than 2 hours, and always make sure you're refrigerating meat, milk, eggs, and cheese.
You, of course, are more than welcome to individually kind of test these all out on your own. I'm just going to read you the pro tips about them that we know for our chef skills. So for our first one, stirring or mixing, when you stir ingredients together, you make sure you want to mix them until they're very well combined. So you want to use like a fork or the back of a spoon to break up any clumps. And when you are stirring on the stove, you want to make sure you hold the saucepan handle so it doesn't spin around or anything. And then when we're cutting, we always want to use a cutting board, and we want to slice away from our hands and tuck our fingers into our palms so that they're out of the way. When we're grating, we want to hold the grater with our non-dominant hand, and we're going to grate in a downward motion with our dominant hand holding whatever we are grating. And then when we're peeling, we want to peel slowly away from your hand and use a paper towel to hold your ingredient in place. And then finally, for our whisking or our beating, you want to hold the whisk with your thumb and pointer finger, kind of like that, and you want to whisk in quickly in a looping motion. And the goal is to get some air in your mixture and make sure each time you go around you are lifting.
Alrighty, so now we're going to preheat our oven to get it ready for our pizza. So you're going to preheat it to 425. So just click bake on your oven, however that looks like. Mine looks like this. And then you're just going to push this button until it gets to 425, and then you're good. Okay, so the equipment we're going to need for this is you're going to need a baking sheet. You're going to need some parchment paper and just lay it out to cover your baking sheet. You're going to put the naan bread on there. We've already preheated our oven, so these are going to go in the oven when it is ready to go. So the measuring cups we're going to use is we're going to have half a cup for our pizza sauce. We're going to have a 3/4 cup for our mozzarella cheese, And we're going to have 1 cup for our spinach if you like it. If not, you don't have to add it. So we're just gonna put all of those things together now.
1.
Okay, so once you've laid out your cheese and spread your tomato sauce on your pizza, then you're gonna chop up your toppings. So if you have veggies, you can chop up whatever kinds you want. I'm using mushroom, peppers, and spinach, but you can use whatever you'd like. Okay, so now that our pizzas are ready to go in the oven, we have it preheated to 425, and we're gonna put it in for 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, so now we have made our food. It has cooked, and hopefully you've eaten it and enjoyed it. We're just gonna have a quick discussion, a little debrief about how we felt about it, what we liked, what we didn't like, what was difficult, what was really easy about this recipe. This one was an easier and faster recipe, so is it something you could do on your own maybe? Do you still need help? We're gonna go through a few questions and things to think about. So once you start cooking, you need to understand some key principles just about keeping different types of food safe and how we store them properly. So a question to think about is, why do you think this is important? Why do we need to be careful when we're handling different types of food? Why do we store some things in the fridge in different containers than other things? We need to do these things to avoid illness, to keep food longer, and to avoid waste. And then another question to think about is, what are some rules that you already know about storing and handling food safety? And you guys can think about those in your head, and you can shout out a few examples. Yeah.
Oh, we're just gonna go over our key messages from this week. So we're gonna talk about all the tips and the skills we practiced. So stirring and mixing, we wanna make sure all our ingredients are mixed well before we cook them. For cutting, we always wanna slice away from our hands and make sure we always keep those fingers tucked in, nice and tight. Grating, we're always going to grate downwards towards the plate. Again, it's how the cheese grater or whatever kind of grater you're using works, and it's the best way to keep us safe while we're doing so. When peeling, we want to go slowly to protect our fingers, and again, always away from ourselves. And then whisking and beating, we want to make sure you get some air in the mixture. And then we are just going to think to ourselves, like, what did we find easy about today? Did we like this recipe? Was it hard? And then maybe let's remember some of our food safety tips. So we want to clean our food before we use it always. And we want to separate our raw meats. We want to make sure everything is being cooked all the way through so it's safe to eat. And of course, we want to make sure we are also doing our step of chilling. So keep our meat, milk, and eggs chilled. And then we're just going to do our little self-evaluation. So was this recipe new to you? Have you had it before? Have you made it before? Could you make this recipe again by yourself, or do you think you might need a parent's help? And would you like to eat it again? Did you like the taste of it? Is there something you could do to make it better? Or, I don't know, something you could add? Just anything like that. And we're just going to remember that these core skills and principles about food safety that we learned today are important to keep in mind all the way through our program every week.